Welcome to Agora by Give Something Back to Berlin. In this podcast series, we'll be finding out how migration has changed our urban landscape and exchange ideas with those who are making a difference. Join us while we tackle issues ranging from human rights and diversity to migrant identity and belonging. Hello everyone and welcome to the Agora podcast series. I'm Gabby D'Annunzio, your host today, and I'm joined by Tom Young, who is the founder of the Open Music School. Open Music School is one of the amazing projects that's part of Give Something Back to Berlin. So Tom, welcome. You are originally from New Zealand, so I was wondering what brought you to Berlin?
I have a story, probably like quite a lot of artists and musicians in Berlin, and that I was on tour for about a decade before I moved here, just constantly on tour around the world, and Berlin became more and more my base here in Europe, and I ended up using it as a base to tour Europe from, and kind of ended up staying too long. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Got stuck here.
Yeah. in the most beautiful way.
Yeah. So you're an accomplished musician. Like you said, you've toured the world, you've put out many albums. I was wondering how being in Berlin, because you've been here for like 8 years now, how that's influenced your music style and how you've also seen the music scene changed here, how the musical landscape has shifted in those 8 years.
Berlin is an amazingly sort of diverse city, and I would say the music scene, many music scenes reflect that, and I think that has had a huge impact on my creativity. Just being a part of so many different things in so many different parts of the city, so that was a huge influence on me personally with my music. How I've seen it evolve, it's hard to say, right? I mean, every little corner of the city with its little scene evolves in different ways. I would say there isn't really one great evolution, but it's been really nice to see in recent years the further diversification of music scenes and the sort of celebration and embracing of both musical styles, but people, like in the music scene, and not being so dominated by one culture, one dominant culture. That's been really nice to see, and I don't know if that's specific to Berlin, but it is. It's very prevalent here. You know, that progression is, I think, pretty obvious here. Could be better, but
it can always
that's
be
why
better.
we're doing this, right?
Yeah, and how did the Open Music School come about, actually, and what are your values?
Yeah, well, kind of following on from that last question, I mean, in 2015, 2016, I joined some other Give Something Back to Berlin projects, activities, and saw the genuine impact that these projects were having, and I thought how we could put that into a musical context. In that I brought a guitar to one of these other activities, and it was a big hit because just like music is a great communicator when you have limited language skills. And then the next time I brought 2 guitars, and I was like, okay, great, we're sharing here. And I was like, so I think we could actually do this in a musical context. And we started with just one simple guitar group, managed to get sort of 5 guitars together, and that was really instantly successful. And by successful, I mean a group of people come from very diverse backgrounds coming together to just simply be together and learn guitar, but of course learn so much more while focusing on this creative activity. And it just became very obvious that there was a need for this. And so we just added more and more groups, brought more and more volunteers in, people who were learning became interested in being teachers, and you get this cyclical skill sharing community, which basically is the values that we focus on, is that every single individual in this community has worth. Simply being involved simply being a participant is benefiting the community as well, coming along. And those it just sort of snowballs in a very beautiful way.
Yeah. And there's no sort of hierarchical structure to like teacher, students. It's everyone making music together.
Yeah, we work pretty hard to try to dismantle those structures. Those structures exist everywhere else in society. Why would we want them here, you know? So we work hard to dismantle those structures so that every single person feels not only comfortable just sort of being there, but comfortable being themselves there.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be more like the dominant culture to be part of this. You can be yourself and be a valuable member of this community. Yeah.
And you started off doing guitar classes, but now you offer such a huge variety of different classes. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you grew the school and what you have on offer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny time, right? Because there's sort of pre-COVID and well, not post-COVID, but you know.
Yeah.
In February of 2020, we had grown to like at least 200 people being involved every week, which is kind of crazy. I often thought about it like I'm not sort of in control of the project, but I'm kind of holding the rope that this crazy beast is on, and that's, I think, a really beautiful way to see it. In that the way it evolves is the participants dictate what happens. So if there's too many people coming to a guitar course, I mean too many, we just don't have enough guitars,
no space.
Right? Let's just do another guitar class. If people come along and they say, hey, I really want to learn some music theory, and we do a call out, a couple of people will say, yes, I can teach music theory. It can be that easy.
Yeah.
The way it evolves is that the community dictates what happens. So everyone has a say in what we offer, but also how those classes are run. And I mean, how it sort of grows. Something I'm very proud of is I think the most obvious way that it's grown is just through word of mouth. So people come along to a class and they'll come along next week with 3 friends because it's a safe, fun space for them to be in. But yeah, I mean, what we're offering is, we kind of have our bread and butter basics, you know, which are like these weekly classes, which are guitar, piano, music theory, bass guitar, ukulele class, singing group. And then we also do one-off classes that are something specific, or we do sort of 4 or 6 week courses, which are, in a specific, what do you call it? A specific skill. Yeah. It works in many different ways. It's pretty fluid. We have a band coaching program.
I think that's just so amazing that you are really being able to give your community what they need. So it's sort of building bottom up, basically. You know, whatever they need or whatever they want to do in terms of music education, you can then provide the space for that to happen. I think that's really amazing, rather than being like, right, this is what we need to do for the community. It's really listening to them and finding out what they need and then doing courses according to that. So I think that's really, really lovely.
Yeah, and I think as you know, our community is predominantly migrants, and as migrants, we are constantly having to fit into brackets to be more accepted here, and doing it in this way that can be the community dictates what happens means you're not having to fit into a bracket. You are an active participant in what happens and what we do next. You know.
Yeah. I was lucky enough before the pandemic to come along to the student performance nights, which was just such a joyous, warm, inviting experience. I really, really loved it. Can you tell us how that came about and what sort of things you would expect to see at the student performance nights?
Man, I'm looking forward to doing them again. The performance nights, I mean, like we just spoke about, it came about from the need of people. People were really engaged in their guitar class or their piano class or their singing group. But you know, that's just a small group of people, which is lovely, and sometimes that intimacy is important. But it was a way to show that you're part of something bigger, and so for the singing group to come to this space we're in Refugio, and the guitar group and all these people to come at a specific time, and come together and sort of show what they've been working on, what they've been learning, and of course, most importantly, like meet each other, and it just grows exponentially suddenly. Like you realize what you're a part of, and of course, there's no limit to the like heartwarming moments that happen at the student performance nights, where someone's they've never performed in front of anyone ever before, and they're playing the Tetris theme song on their piano, which they've been working really hard on for 6 weeks, and then just like such support from the community, hugs galore, and it's just so nice to see.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the little jam session at the end where everyone got involved.
It's always just devolves into some lovely jam session. I don't think I've ever really had we had a lot of performance nights now, I guess, over the last sort of 4 years. And I don't think I've really ever had one where I don't have to wipe away a little tear. It's like, oh, that's so nice. It also, has plenty of, as you mentioned, there's jam sessions sort of holds the space for spontaneity as well, which where people might at the last minute feel like they want to sing. They feel very comfortable in the space, and they'll want to sing a song from their homeland, just a cappella, and it's like, that's just perfect, creating the space where people feel so comfortable to do something like that. It kind of creates this healing space for everyone.
Which is the perfect environment to perform and share your music in. Have you organized any other sort of events or performance nights?
Yeah, I mean, another thing that the music school has done pretty consistently, I mean, again, up until early last year, we have a concert series which we call New City Sounds. We've done it at Fête de la Musique, but we've also done it at other times of the year, and they're like big parties. With a few hundred people come along, multiple musical acts, some of which we'll be performing later. And the idea behind these concerts, these mini festivals, is that not only are we showcasing like amazing musicians, but the sort of ethnic and gender makeup of these performers reflects the community. So it's this kind of, there's this kind of idea of if I can see it, I can be it. And so often migrant communities are not very well represented in mainstream music culture. And to see someone that maybe looks like you or sounds like you or speaks your language on stage, you can see people just gravitate towards it. And multiple people, have after those concerts, after those parties, have come along to the music school being like, hey, I want to learn to play because, that was so cool. It just feeds in a big loop. And of course, people from our community have evolved their artistic and creative output to be performers there as well. So it gives that opportunity for visibility as well.
It's a brilliant platform. Obviously, the pandemic has changed the way that you can interact with your community and how you can, continue giving these classes. So I was wondering what you put in place during the pandemic to sort of keep the community connected.
Yeah, that was I mean, like everything, it just kind of put a halt to things. Something I'm kind of proud of in a weird way is that before both lockdowns and the multiple waves of COVID, the music school, Give Something Back to Berlin, stopped its activities exactly 2 weeks before lockdowns came. And that was an interesting part of the community started to realize that, like, people, the Open Music School and Give Something Back to Berlin really care about our safety, and so I remember the first time we had to shut down, there was a little bit like, oh, come on, do we really have to do that? I was like, yes, I'm sorry, I think we do. Anyways, so there was this kind of understanding in the community that, okay, this is it's if it has to be this way, what are we going to do? And so we moved online, of course, offering both online classes every week. All of the instruments that we offered did it online. Some things work better than others, but like really to keep the consistency in people's lives in a very uprooting, difficult time. And we also created a kind of, we called it OMS TV, where we created a whole bunch of pre-recorded lessons and workshops for people to sort of view at their own leisure. And I think in the last that 2020 we missed 2 weeks of classes in the whole year, which I'm really proud of, that the volunteers, the people that teach, were so dedicated that they instantly moved online. No one knew how to do it. They didn't know how to teach online, but they just did it. And it was messy and it was hilarious. But having this time each week where even before we start learning the guitar or ukulele, everyone there's always about a 10-minute conversation where it's just like, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Yeah. This is your ukulele or your guitar class. Yeah. And that's the feedback is that that's been, for some people, a real rock throughout a really difficult time. I mean, everyone deals with it differently, right? That's been a real rock for people.
Mm-hmm. And having that consistency of like knowing that it's always going to be there, and
yeah. I mean, there's accessibility problems with online stuff, and people not necessarily having instruments. So we also created a music instrument lending library, if you want to call it that, where we lent out our instruments, of course, free of charge, like everything we do, for people, so that people who don't have instruments at home could learn with us online, and that was also very successful. There's accessibility problems with doing things online because not everyone has great Wi-Fi, believe it or not, in 2021. But I think we've done really well, to be honest. And when I say we, I mean really those volunteers, about 40 volunteers that are just really every week. It's makes me kind of emotional to think about it.
It's so
really
impressive.
So dedicated.
It's amazing. It really is, and that's the community. You know, it's really,
see the
really
worth
inspiring.
Of it. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm just thinking about, the future, and hopefully, we can meet in person again. Mm-hmm. What does the future hold with Open Music School?
Yeah, I mean, we've started experimenting with doing things in the park again. There's a ukulele class happening in the park each Thursday, and starting in July, I think. I mean, we'll start doing more things outside. Mm-hmm. There's these things are complex in that there's there's things around sort of what is a safe space if you're doing it in a park. However, we're pretty good at controlling that in some way. And so we're looking at moving things offline again as soon as possible, and we're adding a whole bunch of new programming. Next week we're starting a new thing called Feeling Through Music, where it's basically music therapy, where a trained psychologist, counselor is helping people express their feelings through just sound. It's endless. I mean, it's just like we talked about. It's just the community dictates what happens. Okay. So it's kind of like, let's wait and see.
Let's see how it progresses.
But I mean, more of the same and more on top.
Okay.
Great,
exciting. And I guess you don't know how it's actually going to develop and change.
No, that's what I love about it.
Yeah, exactly. That makes it exciting.
Super unpredictable, and that's what like every good migrant community is.
Yeah, totally.
and full of like just really engaged, amazingly talented and creative people who may not have this opportunity in other parts of their life. Mm-hmm. So let's wait and see what happens. I mean, yeah.
And finally, Tom, what does giving back mean to you?
Giving back, to be honest, giving back to me just means getting engaged, just being engaged in your community. Mm-hmm. If you're feeling outside of a community, everyone should have the ability to or should be given the opportunity, to step into something and feel part of something. And so, for example, with a project like the Open Music School or any Give Something Back to Berlin project, simply being there, simply being a part of it, is giving back. Like just getting involved, and gradually, if you feel like it, maybe you want to volunteer your time in a certain way. I think not putting too much weight on trying to solve all these problems that Europe has plenty of, and simply being an active participant in your community is a superb way to give back, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed chatting to you and hearing about your wonderful, wonderful music school. And thank you to the listeners. And I hope you'll join us next time.
Hey, I'm Oudai Amer. I'm Oudai. I'm going to play to Hannah and some improvisation on Bayat, and this one is for Open Music School.